Hey everyone, I've been wanting to do a video like this for a while now. I always talk about Nintendo and things like that. I mention other games here and there, other systems, PC, that kind of stuff, but I never really made a video focusing on something completely different. So today I wanted to talk about my Sega story. I want to dedicate this video to a friend of mine, a French YouTuber who goes by the name of Fumon World. I'll put a link in the video description, you guys should check him out. It's French, but it's good. He talks a lot about video games and geeky stuff, you know, TV shows, anime, that kind of stuff. But it is French, but some of you might like that. And he's a big Sega fan, and I know he watches my videos as well. And he told me, like, even though, you know, his English is better than most French people, he still sometimes has trouble following my videos, and it's so much work subtitling shit. But I figure, you know, for this video, Fuman, this one is for you, subtitled and everything. So with anybody who was born in the late 70s, early 80s, like me, you were either Nintendo or you were Sega. I was Nintendo. Ever since the NES, I grew up with it, was able to hold a controller, you know, there was a NES and the Super Nintendo and everything when it came out. And I never had a lot of experience with Sega when I was younger. Someone in my neighborhood, I can barely remember this, somebody in my neighborhood had a Mega Drive. And I went there once to play, and I played a little bit of Sonic, just a little bit. Now I loved the way Sonic looked. I hated the way it played, because it was supposed to go all fast, but then every 2 screens you got hit by spikes and you lose all your rings, and it was just bothering me as a kid so much, because with Mario you keep running, you jump, you run, but with Sonic you keep being blocked. Somehow Mario goes faster than Sonic. And I hated the controller, the controller was so huge and I hated it. So after that I didn't touch anything from Sega for years. You know, I got the Super Nintendo, the N64, and you know, meanwhile Sega released all their shit too, and Dreamcast, Sega died in the meantime, and I got my first hand experiences for Sega on the GameCube. This is where I first dove into the Sega franchise universe, the mascots, playing games like Sonic Adventure Battle, and here finally you were able to run fast without being obstructed all the time. I really had a great time playing Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, and it introduced me to all of the Sonic characters, because like I said, you know, I hadn't touched a Mega Drive since. Now Sega also had incredible games that I always wanted to try out, like Super Monkey Ball. I really absolutely love Super Monkey Ball. It was another franchise I was never able to play. And now thanks to the GameCube, with Sega dying and everything, you know, Sega started going more Nintendo consoles. So it was a good excuse for me to play these games. And then Skies of Arcadia, one of the best games ever made, period. It was originally released on the Dreamcast. This is a slightly elaborate version. There's more side quests and a few things like that. One of the best games ever. And of course, you know, I got first-hand experience as well with Sega when you had games like F-Zero GX, which part of Sega helped develop. Seriously, Nintendo, bring Sega back on the group. Now, I really love it. It's one of my favorite racing games ever. It's my favorite F-Zero. F-Zero GX is fucking perfect, and I still feel to a certain degree that this experience really helped Sega with Sonic All-Star Racing Transformed. But we'll get to that game later. Sega! So, a few years back I was walking on a flea market. I go to flea markets every season, I go there. And there was this guy who had a box. He had a Mega Drive in it, a bunch of games. I think 10 or 15, I think one is 15 bucks for it. With like a Mega Drive and 6, 7, 8 games, I don't remember exactly. And I bought it, I picked it up, and since then I've been able to collect for the Sega systems, and I've been able to dive into all these games I never knew before. I was finally able to play shit like Shinobi, Strider. Strider is so good. This is the kind of stuff I used to find on Super Nintendo. but it was faster, more effective, and better than certain beat-em-ups and things like that on the Super Nintendo. Games like Landstalker and the incredible Shining Force, which is such an incredible RPG. This game is so good. I always love that cover as well. And games like Beyond Oasis, Forest is the Legend of Thor. I was so lucky to pick this up once on a flea market for like $2, and it actually comes with. Now it was all complete, you know. It had like the booklet, and it actually came with these collectible cards. Very cool stuff. I never had seen that before until Killer Instinct, I think, on the Super Nintendo, where he actually started doing like special editions like that, where you got all these goodies. And there were games that I had tried before on the PlayStation, but I never knew these existed on Sega systems. Games like Echo the Dolphin. This game is so atmospheric, and for me as a Nintendo gamer, games like this were so surreal. I didn't even know what to expect. A really cool game. And of course, you know, finally I was able to get more in touch with the Sega mascots. Games like Alex Kidd. Not a big fan of the games, this game particularly, the Alex Kidd games, even though I like the character and stuff, but not a big fan of the Alex Kidd games. And how can you forget shit like Sonic? Finally, I have like Sonic 1, Sonic 2. Sonic and Knuckles is the only one I don't have. And games like Sonic 3D, which a lot of people hate. I love this game so much. The 3D effect, I love how the characters look, the sound effects and everything. Then, a little while after I got the Mega Drive, 8 years ago by now? No, is it 8 years? Fuck. 2009, yeah, a little bit after 2009, a little bit before, I met my fiance, and I moved to Austria, and she was a gamer too. She was also a Nintendo gamer and everything, but she also had a Dreamcast. And I was able to expand my Sega knowledge even more. I got into the Dreamcast. Started playing games like Shenmue. I love this game so much. Games like Crazy Taxi, which is the type of iconic game that even throughout my Nintendo years you hear of these games and you want to play them, but you never had the chance. And I was finally able to play games like Crazy Taxi. It also exists on the GameCube, but I never knew that until I actually played this one already. Crazy Taxi. It's so much fun. It's like pure unadulterated arcade fun. Then you have games like Pod. Nah, it's a very peculiar game. It's a bit underground. Not a lot of people ever talk about Pod, but this has perfect gameplay. And as an F-Zero lover, I could see the love for Pod. This is Pod 2. The only thing I hate about this is that it has a few cars that you can only unlock after you go online and the servers are down, so you can't unlock those cars anymore. But you know, some of the more obscure games, all these games that never existed on Nintendo systems. Games like Grandia 2. Oh man, this is such an incredible RPG with one of the most amazing plot twists ever, in my opinion. It is so good, and we're still playing through this. You know, we're almost done with it. I think we're pretty far with it already. And it has such an innovative battle system, something I had never seen before. Because on Nintendo, it's either, you know, like it's pretty direct or it's like turn-based, and this was turn-based in a whole different type. was also able to finally discover games like Phantasy Star Online. It is such a good game, and it's most likely very high rated in my all-time favorite games ever. The way they blended the technology with the nature aspect, the way you could create your character and roam through these lands, and me and my fiance made a character together and we're playing through this game, but I think right now we're in a level that's just so long and saving is not really an option in the very long levels, so for now we kind of dropped it, but we got pretty far with it, and I fucking love these games. It is so good. Now, once again, Phantasy Star also got a re-release effort on the GameCube. The GameCube got a lot of the Dreamcast games after Dreamcast died. And one of my all-time favorite games ever. Period. Jet Set Radio. It's one of those games you always hear about as a Nintendo fan. You always see footage of this everywhere, but you never get to play it for yourself. And when I was finally able to play this game, it's basically like a Nintendo world. It's colorful, it's fun, it's surreal, the gameplay is perfect. I feel the Dreamcast quickly became one of my favorite systems as well, top 5 easily, because it has this super stylized arcade gameplay in most of its library. It is really fucking good, and Jet Set Radio is the perfect example of that, of perfect arcade fun, and I can't get enough of this game. It's so good. So now through the years I was finally able to play all of these games, all of these systems, and I finally got more into Sega and appreciate them for what they were. And I like it that, just like how Nintendo had Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Sega brought their own thing, where all of the characters finally came together, and without doing what PlayStation did and trying to rip Smash Bros. Off, they did their own thing, and they created Sonic All-Star Racing. One of my favorite racing games ever. This game is so good. This is the Transform. I like Transform a little bit better because of the transforming aspect, the smooth transition from land vehicles to planes and boats. It is really fucking good, and it is jam-packed with Sega characters like Sonic, Monkey Ball, Wreck-It Ralph was in there because they made that thingy, and Shadow and Space Channel 5. And all of these characters, these iconic Sega characters, Alex Kidd, I love Alex Kidd and this game. This was one of my first time experiencing Alex Kidd almost in a way where I could really appreciate him, I guess I would say. And the game looks so good and it's so much fun. This was before Mario Kart 8 came out. It was a perfect replacement for Mario Kart 8, and I still think it really holds up. And it's almost on equal footing with Mario Kart 8 with all the characters, Musashi and the Golden Axe and all of these iconic Sega characters, and to me this is the perfect equivalent of Super Smash Bros. But for Sega.
Nintendo.
So there you have it, my Sega story. Like I said, as a Nintendo fan, usually your Sega story, it goes a bit different than other people. But I'm glad that when I got older and had more means to myself, I was finally able to collect for Sega and invest in these systems and the games, because they have such incredible games and franchises. And I still feel Sega is underusing their franchises a lot. I want to thank you guys for watching. Fuman, I hope you enjoyed this video a bit more with the subtitles. It won't happen every video, sorry dude, but I really felt like I wanted to do this for you. Stay real.
Stupid logo!